Hello everyone, welcome back. For this project number two, we're going to do a stop motion again, but this time we're not going to use ourselves. We're going to use some objects, and so the idea here is to make an object interaction stop motion. So any objects will do for this. Really, I decided to use these dolls, like they use to do poses and things like that. And so I'm using these to create my video. And once again, I'll use my cell phone with the Joby clip here, and my phone. And the added twist, I'm going to use my green poster board. So I have a little bit of a green screen in the background. And so that's another purpose to the assignment, is to key out the green after we're done shooting it and put a background behind your creatures there. Okay, so once you take your photos of or your stop motion photos for your object interaction video, you should have them stored somewhere in a folder on your computer. I just shot this on my iPhone, and then I downloaded these photos from my iCloud account. So you can either download them from your cloud storage, or you can, upload them from your phone by plugging it into your computer or whatever. So those are the photos that I'm going to be importing into After Effects. So I'm going to go in here into After Effects. And before I do anything, though, I want to set up my file with the proper dimensions and get that set up first. So once I do that, I'm going to go up, once After Effects loads, go to New Project in the upper left-hand corner. And then we're just going to Composition. Okay, and once we're in the file here, or the project file, we're going to go to Composition, New Composition, or you can click it right here, New Composition. And here's where you get to set your dimensions. So in the assignment, it says the width should be 720 by 540. Okay, so that's already set here. If you click Lock Aspect Ratio here, anytime I adjust the width, it's going to adjust the height as well. And same thing. Anytime I adjust the number and the height, it's going to adjust the width. So if you want to have customization of both width and height, just uncheck Lock Aspect Ratio. Here you can put in any number you want, so 720, and then 540 here. So those are our dimensions. Frame rate is going to be 10 for your frame rate, so we're going to go down here, and we're going to change that to 10. And for our duration, in the handout, it tells you to set it up for about 10 to 15 seconds. You're going to change that later, so don't worry about that. I'm going to do 15 just to make sure I capture all my sequence. So for duration, I'm going to start out at 15 seconds. Okay, so again, 720 by 540, 10 frames a second, and then 15 seconds for my duration. Okay. Okay, and there you can see we're all set up there. Here's my timeline down here. Spacebar will start and stop your timeline. And the next step now is just to import your photo sequence. So I'm going to go into File. I'm going to choose Import, File. And again, you may need to search for your pictures, but if not, mine's already set here. So I'm going to click on the first photo, go all the way down to the bottom again, and hold down Shift. While I'm pushing Shift down on my keyboard, select the last one. Now this time we are not going to check Create Composition. So do not check Create Composition. But I do want you to check Importer JPEG Sequence. Okay, so make sure you check Importer JPEG Sequence. Do not check Create Composition. And watch now what happens. Once you do that, notice here that After Effects has imported all your photos onto one layer and made a sequence for you. Okay. Now notice here, my slideshow is only a little over 3 seconds, and I made it for 15. Okay, so that was kind of overkill, but at least I knew that I would capture all my footage here on one layer and see how long it is. Okay, so that's kind of interesting. So now when I hit the space bar here on the timeline down below, Notice there it plays a whole sequence movie for me of all my photos. The problem is, look how large these guys are. They're so zoomed in because it's such a high res. The pictures are way higher resolution than 720 by 540. So the easiest way to address that, if that happens, is to open up your controls here on your layer. Open up the transform controls here and just scale it down. You don't have to keyframe anything. You don't have to click the stopwatch or anything. Just grab your width and height tools and slide them down until you get a sequence that you can see, just like that. Okay, and now look, it's already all adjusted. So I can hit the space bar. Here's your preview controls up here on the right too. You can play them from here too. And notice there it's playing my movie. Okay, now I am a little zoomed in on some of these where you can see the tops of their heads right there hitting the top of the screen. So I'm going to zoom down. I'm going to scale down a little bit more, maybe to about 33 or so. Oh, that's too much. Okay, right there is probably as good as I can get it. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so that scale tool is right down underneath your layer, under your transform controls down here. Once that's set up, then you can play your sequence and at least watch it. Okay. You can also customize your timeline here. If you go up here, this bar up here above your layer here, grab this and drag this to the end of the video and watch what happens when I play it now. It's only going to play this sequence here. Or I thought it was anyway. Oh, I know why, because it says entire duration up here. If you go again to the preview controls in the upper right and just do work area, change that to work area up here where it says range. Now it should only play the contents within this slider bar that I slid over. Now watch, it should only play to here and then start again. Yeah. So in order for this bar to work, you need to go up here in the upper right and change range from full entire duration to work area. Okay, so you've played your video, you have your work area established here. Now the next thing you're going to do is think about how to adjust the speed on this. Okay, so look, if I hit play, notice how fast it's playing. I like it, but it's a little too fast. I want to slow it down. So first thing I'm going to do is drag my work area slider to increase this edge. So when it's a single arrow pointing, I'm going to drag this out to about 6 seconds just to be safe. And now what I'm going to do is adjust my time on this, the speed of this and how fast it plays. So at 100%, you can see it plays pretty fast and it's kind of jerky. So I think I could slow this down just a little bit. And again, I'm going to go up to layer, choose time stretch. Okay, so again, layer, time stretch. And here what we're going to do is we can just leave this alone here. We don't have to choose current frame like we did last time. And we're going to change our stretch factor here. If I want this video to slow down, I'm going to have to increase this number. Now if I reduce the number, watch what happens. If I put 80 in here and click OK, it's going to shorten it, and watch now, it's going to play it much faster, right? I don't want that. So we're not going to shorten it, we're going to lengthen it by slowing it down. So layer, time stretch, and again, I'm going to just go ahead and shoot this up to, instead of 100%, I'm going to go 120%. And now watch, this will increase. And so my video now has gotten a little bit longer. And so when I play it, once it caches, you can see it kind of slows it down a little bit. Still a little fast for my taste, so I'm going to go ahead and go up here. Let's see, let's go to layer, time stretch. And let's bump that up to 140 and see what happens. 140. And notice there it increased my video again, the length of it, because it's slowing everything down. So let it cache first, and then now watch when I play it. Much better. So I'm almost there. Let's move this back down to where, well, we'll move it out a little bit here. Now let's go up to 150, and that'll probably do it. So layer, time stretch. We're going to bump this up to 150. Click OK, and there again it increased. Let's bring this over here. Click the home key, it'll take you back to the beginning. Spacebar, let it cache, and now watch it there. Very good. So we're almost there. I'm going to do one more time stretch here. I'm going to bring it up to about 165 or so. Okay. Actually, that's moving beyond the boundaries of the assignment, right? If you want to increase it a little bit, that's okay. But I think I'll leave it there because I think the assignment was 2 to 5 seconds, and I'm just over 5 seconds there. So I'll leave it there at that speed. And so that's basically how you can slow down your video, increase the time. Basically, you go into layer, time, and then time stretch, and whatever numbers you put in there are going to affect whether it speeds it up or slows it down. Okay, so the next step, once you get the pacing down, the next step is to apply the keying. You want to key out the green to the best of your ability here. And the way to do that is to apply the effect here. So let me close this up for a second here. Now, if you look over here at your preview window on the right here, you'll see preview, those are your play controls. But down below, you'll also see effects and presets, or you should anyway. You want to click that, and then what we're going to do is open the tab labeled keying. Okay, so again, what you do is you go to Effects Presets, and we're going to go to the Keying tab here. Open up that by clicking the arrow to the left of the word keying, and we're going to use the effect called Keylight 1.2. So you're going to grab this, click and hold your mouse button down, and just drag it to your track here, and it'll apply that effect inside that track. And notice here Keylight shows up in the upper left. Okay, and if you look down here, you'll see now we have an effects tab down here on the timeline, and Keylight is there, so you have it down there too. But we can use the controls up here, and so usually what I like to do is go to where I can see the two objects. And what we're going to do is we're going to manipulate screen color up here. Okay, you don't have to click anything other than, what I would do is go on to the, get the eyedropper tool here, just to the right of the black panel there. And we're going to click on an area of the green, and that's what you're telling Keylight to key out. So we're just going to pick a shade of green. And notice there it did a nice job getting rid of a lot of the green. But as you scrub through, you'll see that we still have some artifacts up here that we have to deal with. So one of the easiest ways to deal with this is to change your view up here from final result here to, let's go to screen matte for our view. And notice there it just gives us black and white where we can see the artifacts that we need to eliminate. So to do that, we're going to now go into screen matte down below here. Okay, screen matte. We're going to clip black and clip white here, these two values on the top. So I'm going to go to clip black. I want to do that first. I want to clip out all the black if I can. And that was pretty good right there. That actually looks pretty good. If you go too far, you'll obviously get rid of all of your characters too. You don't want to overdo anything. I would just go right to the point where it gets rid of all my artifacts here. That looks pretty good. Now I can also play this in a screen matte view, and notice there, it's actually looking pretty good right there. I don't know if I need to do that much more. Now if I increase clip white or decrease clip white, watch what happens here. That if you decrease this, then you can take away some of that loss that you're getting in here. So I got the black to where I want it. Now I'm just decreasing the white. That looks just about darn near perfect. That looks pretty good. I don't know if I can get it any better. That's about as good as I can get it. So basically you're probably going to want to reduce your clip black and maybe your clip white a little bit, or increase your black and reduce your white. Something like that. So you're mainly dealing with clip black and clip white. To me, that looks pretty good now when I watch this. And so now the next thing I'll do is watch it in final result. So instead of screen mat as my view up here, I'm going to go back to final result. And now you see when you watch it, looks pretty solid. And the edges look good too. So the next thing I'd probably want to do is import a photo in here to put as a background, right, on its own layer. Okay, so let's go ahead, let's close up Keylight here. Let's go ahead and bring in, let's see here. File, we're going to import a file, and we're going to find a photo. Now I have another photo in my folder here, and that is, here's one, space image. So I'm going to grab this JPEG, click import, and there it is. And now what I'm going to do is bring this image down to my, and now, so now when I watch this, you can see the characters there in space, okay? That looks pretty good. And so the last step that I'll do is I'll make some adjustments to the background and to our characters here to blend them a little more. Okay, so once you've keyed out your green, now the question is, what do you want to do with these two layers to blend them? I think probably one of the most logical answers would be to do some color correction. So I'm going to start with the two characters here. I'm going to go up to this top layer on my timeline. And again, I'm going to go to Effects and Presets up here in the upper right. And this time we're going to use the color correction effects. So I'm going to click on the arrow next to color correction. And I want to show you a really cool tool called Curves. If you've never used one of these, Curves is a great color correction tool and it gives you a lot of control. So I'm going to drag that onto this top layer. And notice here with Curves, we have our channels are also indicated by these bands here. For example, this first one, if I click on this line, that's going diagonally and drag it one way or the other, notice it's making the characters brighter or darker. Okay, so that's what these curves can do, is they can increase or decrease values. Now if I go to this red tab, I can increase the red in these guys if I want, or bring it down. I can also kind of change the hue while I'm dragging the slider around as well. You can also drop it down and take the red out. So that's kind of interesting. I'd like to keep some red in there. Maybe about there. And now here I can increase my green values if I want, or I can drop those down again to make more of kind of a violet, to kind of maybe complement the greens behind it. So that's kind of fun. And just try to make some complementary colors there. And then I also have a blue value here too, and I can bring some of the blue out or even increase it like that. And that looks cool. I like the more violet tones that go with the greens behind it. So you have some nice complementary colors there. So each band does something a little bit different for you. Just darken that a little bit. And then in the background, maybe we can enhance some of those greens as well. So let's go ahead and go to Space Image, that layer. Again, we're going to apply curves to that layer as well. And again, let's darken the background a little bit maybe. Maybe not too much, but enough to... There we go. And then let's play around with these other values too. We could increase some of the reds in there. That might make it look interesting. Greens here, we can either take those out or we can increase them a little bit. That looks cool right there. And then let's see if we can get a hold of our blue value here and move that out. Let's move this back to where it was. That looks neat right there. And then what happens if we increase the blue, or we can decrease it? Actually like it up here a little ways here. That looks kind of neat. And let's increase the green a little bit too, just to bring that out. And so you can play around with your color correction here also to, adjust the values as well. And let's see what else. You can also adjust brightness and contrast. So if I go to this top layer again, and I bring the brightness and contrast on here, notice what happens here is I can start playing with that as well. So I can actually increase the contrast on the characters to make it maybe a little more dramatic like that. Or I could even brighten those up if I want to, or darken them at the same time. I think that looks pretty good right there. So by using these color correction tools such as curves or brightness and contrast, you can really make a nice dramatic video that stands out. Okay. And so that's about the end of the video there. So the next step at the end of this is to, well, first of all, you want to save it. So File, Save. Make sure you save your project periodically. 2 dash your last name is probably a good idea so you don't lose it. I'll call it demo for mine, and then just save it into folder number 2 here. Okay, so once you have your green screen keyed out, and once you've adjusted your colors on each of your layers, the last step is to render out your movie. And so to do that, I'm going to just take the edge of this. I'm going to hold down Shift and just drag this work area bar to the edge of the video. Notice there, if I hold Shift down, it'll snap right to the end. So just hold Shift while you drag this area on the work area, and it snaps right to the end. So what I'm going to do is just render from here to here, which would be, if you go up to the preview window here in the upper right, we're just going to render the work area as our range. So the easiest way to do that is to go up to Composition on the top, Add to Render Queue, or Control M is your shortcut. So we're going to add this to the render queue. Now down here where it says Output Module on the bottom on the timeline, we're going to check our settings here. So I'm going to double click on, it says H.264 15 megabytes per second. That's H.264 is a good compressor. So I'm going to use that. I'm going to keep that there. If you want to change that, you can go up here and you have all kinds of different compressors, but H.264 is a good one. And we're not worried about audio, so it doesn't matter. So leave that alone. So click OK on that. And then the last thing you're going to do is, actually, let's take a look at, let's go back to our H.264 and let's look at our size of our video. I want to make sure that we are, output here. If you look on the top of our export settings, output says 720 by 540. You want to keep everything the same as when you set up the file. That's good. Click OK. And then the last thing you do is you specify where you're sending your video. So you click on Output to where it says Not Yet Specified. And then you're going to name it. So this one is Project 2. So 2 dash your last name. I'm going to use my last name here, obviously, but you're going to use your last name here. And just know which folder you're sending it to. Mine's going into Project 2 folder, so I'm good there. We don't want AEP, so click off of that. Just make sure it says 2 dash your last name, and then the type should be MP4 or AVI, something like that. So that's good. We're good to go. Now I'm going to click Save. But then there's one more step you don't want to forget. You want to go down to the bottom right-hand corner and hit the render button there. See where it says render? So click that, and you see how it's rendering out. Then you'll get the signal when it's done. So that rendered out, so I'm going to minimize this without closing it and check my folder to make sure it's playable, because this would be the file that I would upload into the Canvas module. Okay, and this one is right here, 2acre.mp4, so I'm going to double click that. And here it's giving me options on where I want to play it. I like to use VLC because VLC will play just about anything. So I'm going to click on VLC Media Player, and there it is. And it should loop nice and smoothly. Yeah, so that's looking pretty good. So that's the movie that I would upload into the Canvas module and the assignment module where it asks you to.